Hi, Julian. I hope you're doing well. I just wanted to come on here and give you some advice on the sales call and maybe some things that you can implement to increase your success in the future. But I know you've been doing a great job on prospecting, so congratulations with that. But just starting off with the basics of what is incorporated in a sales call. You know, the approach is the beginning where you're introducing yourself, building rapport, setting the agenda. You then move on to the discovery phase where you're asking strategic questions to see what the needs and wants of the customer are. You then go into the presentation phase where you give them a value proposition of how you can add value to their company. And then lastly, you go into the close, and that's when you're asking for a commitment from the buyer. But with all of that basics being said, I do want to focus in a little bit on the discovery phase. So the discovery phase is pretty important, I will say, because it's not only the time when you're uncovering the prospect's needs or wants, but it's a time when they're actually learning a lot about themselves as well. They might uncover some needs or challenges that they didn't even know they had until you brought up some questions. Also, the discovery phase does impact the recommendation or the presentation phase of the sales cycle, because when you're making that value proposition, you want to make sure that it's catered towards the answers you received from those strategic questions you asked in the discovery phase. Lastly, or not lastly, sorry, but next, it's also important to know what the goals of the stakeholder are and what your own goals are going into the sales call. So regarding the stakeholder, they are trying to see if there's a need that can be resolved either by you or someone else. It's pretty early on in the sales cycle, so they're probably talking through a bunch of different options still. They're also probably focused a lot on price in the beginning since it's early on, and that's one of the main deterrents from other options. So that's just something to keep in mind. For you, you want to make sure that you're focused on having a relationship with the customer and also seeing if there's a chance for you to add true value to the customer. You don't want to waste your time if you don't think there's a good opportunity here. And then in terms of how long the sales cycle takes, it can last several months up to a year. It totally depends on the size of the company, the cost of the product, and also how well the customer knows your business. So that's why building rapport is so important. And then lastly, I just want to share some 5 tips with you going forward that I have found really beneficial. So in regards to the discovery phase, when it comes to that challenge question, do not ask more than one challenge question if you're only looking to solve one problem. If you ask multiple challenge questions, that means that you're going to have a lot of problems on your plate, and you don't need to be responsible for all of that. And so maybe 2, but I would focus in on 1. The approach should not last longer than 3 to 5 minutes. Time is money. You do want to get to know them, but you'll also be building your relationship with them throughout the sales cycles and the further calls you'll have. And then also make sure to have appropriate tone and verbiage. Having your opening practiced and rehearsed is great, but you want to avoid sounding fake or robotic. Also, ask lots of questions. When you're in that discovery phase, ask around 7 to 10 circumstances questions. You might not be able to get through them all, and so you can save some for later, but just become prepared and make sure those questions aren't easily found on their website or done through basic research. And then lastly, focus on the product value in your presentation, not the features. That's where it's really going to catch the customer's attention because that's where it's going to stand out and how it's really going to impact them. So with all of that being said, thanks so much, and I wish you the best of luck.